I'm here with Eventual Infinity, who is a vaporwave producer and DJ from the Seattle area. And first, I want to ask, how did you get started with music? Where did you enter into this lifestyle?
Yeah, so like music has always been around. My mom was a music teacher and played piano and guitar, and she taught me how to play piano growing up. And I would like print off sheet music and stuff for like video games. A lot of Final Fantasy sheet music. That's what I'd print off, and she would like show me how to read it and play it and stuff like that. So like that combined with like like my dad has always kind of been into like audio production and working soundboards at like events and um, just I don't know. Like I feel like between those two, just always having music around, digging through their collection of records and stuff like that. It was just always something that was around, and I remember I initially wanted to get a drum set because I always like wanted to drum, and I ended up like getting a keyboard instead. My parents really encouraged me to get a keyboard, and I think it was because there's a headphone jack to a keyboard. And like, so I'm one of five kids, so imagine like five kids running around like crazy, and then one of them is banging on the drums all the time. I'm sure my parents were like, oh, let's get him, a keyboard. Maybe we could talk him into that. So like that was kind of like when I was first getting into playing music and stuff like that. But I really got into electronic music, and that's always kind of like been the thing that's been most inspiring to me. Like when I first heard, um, I forget which movie it was, but it was like there was a whole bunch of like electronic music in the background, and I got into like the producers. I looked up like who did the soundtrack, and I like just really started getting into electronic music, and I DJ'd, um, and then I got more into like the production side, and just over time it grew. And I would say in like the last maybe 5 or so years, I really started to get into it again. I stopped for a little bit, and then um, yeah, jumped right back into it and kind of got into it. How can I say it? Like it became a much bigger part of my life. Like I focused on it a lot more. I wanted to make it work and wanted it to be something that, like when I put out music, I'd be really proud of it. So I know that was kind of like a whole timeline thing, but like it all started with that keyboard, I would say, where I got the keyboard and some headphones and started
Oh,
playing Final Fantasy songs.
yeah, it sounds like it really was a big part of your upbringing just to listen to and participate in music. But and then you DJ'd for a bit, but when did you start kind of performing your own music at live stuff?
Yeah, so I would say when I started performing as like Eventual Infinity, that was gosh, it was pretty recently. Maybe like 2 or 3 years ago.
What event were you at for that? Do you remember your first like show?
Yeah, so the first show I played was with Darian Shields in Seattle. And I remember reaching out to him because I forget what it was. It was like I had seen him on a flyer, or it was something like he had done vaporwave shows in the past, like the artist Otto.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had done shows here with him, and he's like one of the one of the few vaporwavers in Seattle that I'd like. He was one of like the few, like the first people that I knew that like performed and played it here and stuff like that. And he had a really cool set where like he would sing and he would pitch his voice down. So he would like sing over his tracks and stuff, and had this like whole persona thing with like a mock turtleneck and like all this stuff.
Dang.
It was awesome.
That's pretty sick.
So I got to play a show with him, and it was so much fun. And there was like some other more like experimental electronic artists and stuff that played that night too. And yeah, it was fun.
And then you've just moved up and now you're at Homesick Fest. What's your favorite part of your set that you're most excited for everyone to see?
Um, Gosh, I honestly love the first two tracks because they're off departure. It's um, the title track departure, and then it goes right into Mornings in Hawaii with Fake Fever. So it's the start of departure, and it's been the start of my sets and stuff like that. I just really love like being able to play guitar and then the key sections, and then going into vocal track with Fake Fever. So it's a really cool intro, and I love how those two tracks kind of blend together.
Would you say Fake Fever is kind of like one of your main collaborators, or would you say he's also one of your main inspirations too? How does your relationship with him work?
So with him, I'd say it's a little bit of both. I mean, he's a phenomenal musician, so he inspires me a lot. But at the same time, like he's so it's so natural to collaborate with him too. It's so easy to do that. So I would say it's a little of both. And I'm inspired by a lot of people in our community too. Like it's so inspiring to see how this vaporwave community has turned into a huge experimental electronic movement with so many different styles and so many different approaches and backgrounds and all this stuff. And that's what I love about the community too. Is like so many people collaborate, so many people work together, and it's just like this really positive force for collaboration creation, where you do have some naysayers that are like, oh, you can't do that, that's not vaporwave, whatever. But then I would say an overwhelming majority of people are just like, yes, and it's like, yeah, let's go, like let's just keep pushing and let's keep trying different stuff, let's just experiment.
Yeah, and that's how we end up
um
with these big events. Every single live online festival that's been happening this year has just been loaded with participants. And
yeah,
collaborations have arisen out of those things, and they've just been huge gathering points, I think, for the community.
yeah, just so many people all working together, it's really cool.
Well, that's our time. It's been great having you. Let's get on into the set.